Hello, everyone. It is Tuesday, May 5th, and welcome to another edition of the Fivers Futures Live. I am Dave, your host, and we're going to get into these markets and see what we can trade today. I hope you're having a good start of your week. I hope you had a good day yesterday and overall a good weekend. And I'm wishing you a great day today as well. And let's see what we can get into and what trades we can cover today. We've been getting a lot of requests to talk about gold. So yesterday I was trading with Samir and we touched on it briefly. So today I'm definitely going to take a deeper look at the gold futures contract, and we'll also look at the indices as we usually do and look at oil and things like that. And hopefully we could find some good setups and take some good trades. I'll go over some of the trades I took yesterday, on stream and off stream. I took a contrarian trade yesterday, which ended up working, and I'll explain the whole process behind that. And yeah, guys, let me know how you're doing. Let me know where you're watching us from in the comments. Unfortunately, Jane won't be joining me today, but she'll be back next week. So today I'm riding solo. Let's see what we can get into. All right, and don't be shy, guys. Let me know in the comments what you're looking at. You can ask me questions about anything you want. And yeah, let's get into this now. I have our futures trading platform here, Black Arrow, pulled up, and just wanted you to be aware that we're getting a little bit of news today. The some PMI news and the job openings later at around 10 Eastern, so in about an hour, and we'll see how the market reacts to that. Later on this week, we have data coming out, but nothing crazy until Friday, where we'll have the unemployment rate, we'll have the non-farm payrolls, and yeah, the Michigan consumer sentiment. Now, NFP is probably what's going to affect the markets the most, and we're probably seeing a little bit of positioning before that. So we'll see. We'll see. All right, we have Harris Jakar. Hello. How you doing? Yes, we are going to get into gold right now. I have gold pulled up actually, so we're gonna take a look at that, both intraday and also long term. And then I have Tobago here. How you doing? Does trade with risk reward on futures a good thing? What do you think? All right, so I'm gonna answer you first because it's a shorter answer, and then I'll get into gold with Harris. By the way, guys, remember to like the stream. It helps us a lot, and if you're not subscribed, please do. All right. I'm good, Harris. I'm great, actually. Had a great trading session yesterday, live and off air as well. So that's always a good thing to end the day in positive territory. Now, to go back to Tobago's question, you're saying trade with RR. So I'm guessing you're talking about trading with risk reward on futures. Is it a good thing? Well, trading with risk reward is the basis of, I would say, all trading. So definitely something you should do, right? You should try to take trades that have a positive correlation. So basically, a lower risk than what you're possibly going to be rewarded for. Now, it's also going to depend on how much you win, etc. So there's a lot of factors that come in, but a general rule is you want your reward to be higher than your risk. And then I'm going to look at what this means if we're looking at the chart. Actually, a great example of that is the trades that I took yesterday. We'll see risk reward wise what they were, what were the considerations, why I took these trades, and so I have them pulled up right there. And I was gonna make a post about that to explain what was the idea behind them. So I'm gonna put a line here where we could see the open. You guys know I like to trade the opening range for the ones that usually watch the stream. And these boxes are basically me evaluating what is the risk reward on each trade. So let's look at yesterday. I'm going to actually drill down a little bit. We're going to look at a 1 minute chart, and then we'll get into gold. So let's look at the first trade. So yesterday, we were looking at the NQ, right? And what was the idea behind that? Let me get this these lines out of there so you could see, and I've marked my executions there in green and my exits and the idea behind this trade. This was actually a contrarian trade. So this, let me put this in blue. This way you see it better. Let me know if you see, guys. So what was the idea behind this trade? Well, we opened, right? And then I wanted to find a range. Now, we weren't sure. We were moving sideways. We had some levels marked out. So what we realized was, okay, our range was going to be this distance right here, from this low to this high, the first 15 minutes of the range. Now, something I always pay attention to is the halfway point in the range, right? And what we did here and here, so twice, is buyers stepped in, right? Then we went and tested the high of the range. So before I took the trade, I said, okay, what I want to do is see if we can break out, pull back, and then continue higher. But since we had a shallow range, I was really looking for shorts. And what I'll do sometimes is I'll enter a contrarian trade. So I'll enter a trade, counter my idea for an added check in my favor for the next trade. So what I did was I entered on the break, I added on the retest, and then there was the second retest, and we could see there was a little trend developing here. And this is where I entered my trade. So my average price, if we're going to check out risk reward, my average price was around here, I think, around the 2890s. And I was risking this prior low, right? Now, if we're talking risk reward, I'm risking 50 points to hopefully make 100 points. But here's the problem with that, and that's why I had a contrarian view, is because realistically, the next areas where we could take profits were here, right? Which was, if we're measuring from here, it's like one standard deviation above or around here. And because we had this prior area of resistance where we really sold off from, I was very concerned that this could be the point where sellers would enter again. So honestly, this trade was not a very good risk reward trade as a first trade, right? Because I'm risking 50 points, and then I'm looking at, if we look at my first profit target, I'm looking at 36, about 36 to 40 points. So from where I entered, which was about here, we're looking at best case scenario 35 points, right? So that's basically 0.75 to 1. So that is not a good risk reward trade. But it is why I have multiple contracts and why I was gradually moving my stop. So basically entry was there, and gradually I was moving the stop following once we had this pullback, and it was bought back again. I was like, okay, the idea is confirmed. So this first trade was not a good risk reward trade. What was the trade I was looking for? Well, it was the short, actually. So we made some profit on the way up. I exited the trade. I took some profit here, took some profit here, took some profit right here. And then once we started to sell off, I completely changed my view and confirmed that, okay, the short bias is on. So what we did was, now we took the real good risk reward trade. And how do we determine that? Well, let me get this out of the way. When I'm entering the trade here and I see, okay, we failed to push up and we're going back down, what I'm looking for is I'm risking this prior high and looking at essentially three areas. So first area was here, which is the middle of the opening range. I'm looking at the bottom of the opening range, which is here, right? And then the last area I'm looking at is, can we go and form another range lower and reach either the halfway point or the bottom of that opening range, which in that case gives me great risk reward. So if we measure now with the entry tool, and I think my average price was right there, and I'm risking those highs. Now, again, I'm risking 50 points. Usually I'm risking 50 to try to make 100. Well, now I have great risk reward. Why? Because the halfway point there is about 50 points. So that's a 1-to-1. And then the bottom of the range, which is around here, is a 2-to-1. That's about 100 points. And then I get all 3-to-1 all the way down there. So that trade was a good risk reward trade, and I also took that trade. Now you can see my exit. I exited one here at around 1-to-1, exited the rest of my position here. I guess I didn't mark them out. Actually, I could just turn on my executions. They don't show up really well on screen, but you can see one execution here, actually added here, exited part of the trade right here, and then exited part of it right here. So that ended up being a almost 4-to-1 because of the amount of contracts I had. Let's put this here. So on average, I'm risking 50 points and then I'm exiting here. That was, so from my execution, so this was the add. So from here to here, this is 135 points. And here, this is 121 points. And then I was risking just 50 points. So, you know, here, this is what we call a good risk reward trade. And how I'm determining my risk to reward is based on how much did we move during the opening range. And today I'm going to do it live again. We'll see once we open how. Okay, I kind of lost yesterday's range there. Let's go back. Yeah. So basically, let me just show you. What I'm doing is I'm getting the range, right? And I'm measuring, okay, how much did the price move? So let's say this is my range. What I'm looking for, so let's say the prices would be right there like that. What I'm looking for is to see, okay, can we move the same amount or more lower, right? So let's say, can we get 2 standard deviations lower? Or can we move the same amount higher? Right? And so what I'm trying to see is, can the displacement, if we're green, can we go from here, pull back, test here, pull back, test here, and keep that structure going? And then maybe once we get here, we kind of break and then do whatever we're going to do. So that's the usual bullish scenario I'm looking for. So I'm looking for a trend day, or I'm looking for a move lower. So we are here, for example, we test the high, we go test the middle of the range, we move lower, retest here, continue here, and form somewhat of a structure on the downside, right? And then that would be a bearish scenario. Now, what you need to ask yourself is, okay, where do I need to enter so that whether we get to this area here, whether we get to the halfway point here, whether we get down here, where do we get here, or maybe on the other side, where do we get to this halfway point? Because you don't know where you're going to go, right? You're trying to evaluate where you're going to reach, and you want to be conservative. So you're trying to see, okay, if my target is, for example, this halfway point here, where do I need to enter long to make this the best risk reward trade possible? Well, if you're entering, so if this is your target, right, you can't be entering your trade right here, because you're only getting this little piece of the puzzle. So ideally, if your target is here, you want to be entering here and risking somewhere here, or at least risking a 1-to-1, so the previous distance, so that this distance is equal to this distance. And it's a long answer to say that yes, we use risk reward in futures, and I'm usually risking about 50 points to make about 100 points, give or take, right? It doesn't mean that if I'm risking 50, if the asset gets to 75 or 80, 83, I won't take my profit. It depends on the price action. And most of all, what I'm trying to control before the actual reward is the risk. So that's why you will see oftentimes, depending on where we get to after a pullback, or maybe after I've taken one or two contracts off, I will adjust my stop and I will say, okay, if we've moved up, let me just show the example again. So on this trade, right? We moved up this way, we pulled back here, and then we pushed higher above, we went above this prior high. Well, if I was risking this low, right? And then once we push to this area, well, now I don't want to be risking this low anymore. I want to be risking this low, because if we're really bullish, then we shouldn't go back down. We have a trend. So the biggest pullback I want to see is something like this, and then a continuation higher, or just a continuation. If we had done that, if we had pulled back here and continued higher, then my stop would be here. And I'm gradually adjusting the stop with the price action, because we're day trading. We're taking short-term scalp trades. So that gives us the ability to manage the trades in the moment, manage the trades live. So that's the answer. That's a very long answer to answer you, Tubagu, but I hope this helps. Now, Greg is back in the house. Good morning, good morning, good morning. Am I using the fractal indicator? I am not using the fractal indicator, no. I'm not sure what you mean by the fractal indicator. The only fractal indicator I know of is, I could say, the Fibonacci tool, which I don't really use a lot, but it can be useful. But for my trades, for the way I trade the opening range, I'm just looking at the price action. I'm looking at the speed of the price, and I'll just use VWAP sometimes to kind of gauge where we're at, and that's about it. I don't use, and then volume, of course. Volume is one thing that I use a lot, because you want to see how much participants are involved, and I always make the store analogy. How many people are interested in the product? So how many people are? If it's a tennis shoe, how many people are walking into the store to buy the shoes? And then if the shoes have been bought, well, how many people are just walking out of the store, right? And that's what you're trying to determine to kind of determine your trades. Ashton said Williams fractals. Let me see if they have them there. I've never used these. No. These arrows are just my executions. So if you look here, let me just try and zoom in for you guys. So the execution happened here, and I'm just adding the arrows because it's clearer to see. I don't know if live you're able to see this, right? I don't know if you're able to see this little arrow. This is why I add these arrows for you guys to be able to see my executions, and then I share these setups in our Discord, and usually it's easier to see with these arrows. It's not an indicator. These are just, you could just add these drawings here on the chart, and sometimes I'll play around with them with Samir. When we want the stock to go up, we just place these for fun. But no, it's not. I'm not using an indicator here. But I'm curious, Williams. Huh? There's a Williams indicator here. I want to see what this looks like. Add accumulation distribution. Interesting. Okay. Williams indicator. I'll have to look into that. I've never heard of that. Or maybe I have, but I've forgotten because there's so many indicators. I'll look into that. All right. Now we're gonna touch on gold because I know a lot of people are interested in gold. So I definitely want to take a look with you guys. We looked at it yesterday. If you are, subscribed to our newsletter, every week I publish a quick take and on the market, and I showcase some levels, everything that happened during the week. So what we're looking at is, each week I'm showing you, okay, this was where we resisted from, this is where we got support, and this is the inflection area. And the inflection is usually a very key point. Why? Because inflection will turn into support, and it sometimes will turn into resistance. And it's a good reference point. So right now we're looking at the hourly chart on gold, and we're gonna take a quick look at what's going on right now. We're gonna step back, look at the daily chart, but first I want to look at this, and then we'll go down intraday to see what kind of setups we might take. Fractals just mark high low. Okay, got it. Thank you, Harris Jakar. Appreciate it. All right. So what is going on here? Well, we found support, and basically I'm marking it where we get the meat of the move, right? It depends on the price action, but here we found support just below these wicks, right? Around we found liquidity down there around 45, the 45.20s. Let's see, 45.09 more or less. And now we're pushing higher. Well, what do you want to pay attention to now? Well, here are the areas you need to have in mind. You need to have this pocket in mind. You need to have this pocket in mind, right? And you need to have, they're pretty close to each other, this and this area. So since they're similar, I'm just going to put an oval right here. And these are the areas you need to pay attention to. Now, we're moving higher, and first area we want to be looking at is this, right? We are pushing towards this pocket. So what you want to be telling yourself is we're actually at a decision making point. Are we going to pull back from here, or are we going to push higher? Second question you need to be asking is, if we push higher, we're going to go smack dab into that inflection area. It's called inflection because that is where the price reversed from. You could see how we were going down. We found support, but we quickly rejected here and moved lower. So what we want to see is, okay, next time we get into this area, what happens? Well, look at what happened the next time. We pushed higher. Of course, we pulled back. But right as we got to this previous area of support, we reversed from it, right? And then we went lower. Now, we've just piled through. They tried to buy it here. We pushed through, went all the way down, and now we are reaching back into that inflection area. So inflection could be translated as decision-making area. What are we gonna do once we get there? If we get there, right? So that's what you want to keep in mind on the higher time frame. We're not looking at one or two candles. We're looking at areas, and we're looking at an accumulation of candles and how price behaved in those areas. So now, having that in mind, let's switch to a higher time frame. Now, I already marked some scenarios, but before we get into these scenarios for gold, let's just zoom out and look at it from a daily perspective. Okay, so multiple times I've said that it is looking like we are in somewhat of a downtrend on gold. And again, there are a few key areas to keep in mind that I've marked here with my yellow levels. So we have this high right there. We have this high right there, right? And then we have this previous pocket where we reverse from right there. There's a very interesting area of liquidity here that we need to keep in mind for the future. But this is the daily chart, and the trend that I'm gathering, you know, what I'm seeing in terms of speed, and this is purely technicals. We're not even factoring in the macro situation. We're not taking into consideration yields, et cetera, even though yields might be more interesting than gold right now for investors. We are, in my opinion, we've tested. Let me put a bigger arrow there. Let's change the format of this so you can see it better. Let's put a thicker line. All right. So what has been the price action? Well, we've pushed lower, tested the high, pushed, made a lower low, retested this this pocket, and now we're pushing lower. Well, what is the psychology there? And we got to think, okay, what is going on there in the higher time frame? Well, if we're looking, and if we look left, we are in between these two pockets right now. So if I were to trace a line from here, let me put this in blue, to here, you see how we're kind of intersecting these two areas. Sorry, these two areas right there. So what do I expect to happen here? Unless there is some news or some data or anything that is decisive, I expect a lot of possible sideways action here, right? And of course, as usual, I could be wrong. But for the next few days, and as we've seen here, I expect some distribution or reaccumulation in this area here, right? So I expect some sideways action until we can decide what we want to do. Do we want to go retest the upper end of this range here before pushing lower, or do we in fact we're unable to find the steam and we go and kind of go test these areas of liquidity lower, which could take us all the way down to the 4150s, right? So now if we zoom in and we look at gold intraday, so let me just go into a 15-minute chart. What we're looking at is, well, actually, no, let me go back to the daily because I want to show you something. What did we do yesterday? Yesterday, we sold off the whole day. We tried to break lower, but it was a failed breakdown once we got to here, and it was bought back up. So right now we're trading back inside of this prior day, inside of this candle, right? So we want to see, okay, we are smack dab right now in the 50% area of this candle, right? We've passed it a little bit, but we're still in that zone here. So we want to ask ourselves, is this the rejection zone? Is this where we reject from and go lower? Or are we going to go and cover this whole area and go test the high of this this candle? Now, something to keep in mind, yesterday we moved about 140 points. And I know for measuring that the average range on gold, daily range is about 120 points. So far, we've moved, I think, about 72 points. So if we're going to move maybe 100 points, that definitely gives us room to move to the upside intraday. Okay, now that we have that in mind, let's zoom in. Let's look at this on a lower time frame. So this is going to be, let's say, a 15-minute chart. And then I put various scenarios for you guys. I put the bearish case, the bullish case, and the neutral case. Now, we have this what I've marked here is what you guys like to call the fair value gap, right? So we tapped back into the fair value, and this is a 30-minute or hourly. No, it was an hourly fair value gap. So we have a fair value gap here this whole zone based on this sell-off right now, right? And we've traded back inside of it. They were not able to sell it, right? Once we tapped into here, they tried to sell it, but we were able to push higher. We got to this prior pocket of resistance. They tried to sell it again. It did not happen. So there's a lot of trapped shorts here that are covering their positions. But we are not moving fast. We're moving slowly. When we're moving slowly, that can be the beginning of a new trend. Now, we've just opened, so I'm going to take a quick look at the behavior of the Nasdaq, and then we'll get back to gold. Let me just see. All right, I just wanted to see how we were moving. All right, let's get back to gold. So right now on a 5-minute chart, what are we looking at for gold? Well, if we're going long, we want to break out of this prior high because there's liquidity up there. We want to hold, pull back over the highs, and then we can go and push higher and go test these highs. So this is my bullish case. Remember, there's liquidity here. So if we're unable to capture these highs, well, I'm definitely looking for a short. So it would be a breakdown, a retest, and then a move lower. So that would be, and then a move lower basically to go back into this fair value gap. So we can decide, do we want to continue lower or are we going to revert back to the upside because this is fair value, right? Last scenario, and as usual, this always has to be in your mind, is that we might push lower and then find buyers and push higher and then just oscillate sideways. So with gold, especially these days, you want to keep that in mind. And these days, it's been paying more to be short gold than long gold. So we just want to be careful. Now, let me get these scenarios out of the way. Actually, let me just hide them because I want to see by the end of the day what plays out. So we'll hide these. And then what we want to look at is the volume. So fair value, the price, that's volume-wise, the point of control is around 40, 45, 64. And right now we're at the liquidity area. So are we going to be able to capture this liquidity zone and push higher, right? And then go test this this prior high there? Or are we going to just capture liquidity and go lower? Well, we'll have to find out. But if you're trading gold, I would suggest you wait. You kind of allow price to tell you what it wants to do. So if you're looking for a long, you're looking for, like I said prior, you're looking for a price to break this liquidity area, pull back, and then give you that long entry. And that might take a while. If you're looking for a low, for a short, you're looking for the price to wick higher on volume and then push lower, give you a pullback for you to enter short and to have a clear area to risk off of, right? So again, long scenarios, you're looking for something like this, and then short scenario, you're looking for something kind of like this, right? So this is the take on gold. Now, I definitely want to take a look at the indices, keeping in mind that around 10 o'clock, we're going to get some economic data. So this is the Nasdaq. Definitely going to take a look there and see what's going on. 930 was here. So I'm going to start to, put my opening range box. This way I could see how much of a range are we getting on the asset, right? Hopefully we get around 100 points, something like that. That would be a good range for the first 15 minutes, because if we're in a tight range, then that is probably announcing some sideways consolidation, and I don't really want to be, I always say I don't want to be trading inside the box. So let's wait, let's see. I know that Tuba was looking for my take on gold. I hope that you got some ideas there. We're going to look at the indices and see what we can get, right? Let me just switch back to my day analysis and zoom out. Let's take a look at the Nasdaq on the daily. So we pulled back here yesterday, and we've recovered and we're pushing towards new highs. We're at the $2,800 area, which is kind of a round number. So these round numbers sometimes can be interesting. Now, what we have to keep in mind is if we're going to go long, we're going to have to look for some kind of a pullback before we push higher. Now, we've moved from the Asian session about 300 points already, keeping in mind that the Nasdaq has had a range of about 350 points. So if we just measure, we could look 350, 460, 491. So if we continue to push higher, we are able to possibly capture 100 and 150 points if we're really pushing higher there. So that's good for us if we want to go long. We're trading the all-time high, so we need various scenarios in mind. Now let's dive down. This is a 4-hour. Okay, this is being constructive. Let's just continue to zoom in an hourly chart. So usually what I like to do is kind of define the levels. So we have a clear trend here, and we're breaking out of the trend. We're getting out of there, right? So basically, the thing that happens when you're trading all-time highs, especially on the long side, is you don't have any reference points anymore. There's nowhere to look left, right? We've taken these highs, so now we have to measure the moves and kind of calculate our risk rewards based on how much displacement we got on the open. At least that is how I do it, right? So that is why I'm going to wait. We're going to wait for the first 15 to 30 minutes to develop. We're definitely getting a clean push higher here, and then we'll see what kind of trades we can get. Do they want to hold these highs and continue higher, or do they want to kind of sell off and take profit? Definitely looking constructive here. There hasn't been any really big geopolitical news as of yet. We've had multiple earnings last week, and so far, Wall Street is saying let's keep pushing things higher. So we'll see what we get. We'll wait. It's 9:38. We still have some time to go there. So we're gonna let this range develop and then come back to it in a few and see if we could possibly find some kind of setup. Now let's look at the see if we're doing some kind of a similar move. Yesterday, by the way, the short setup was so clean on the ES. Let's look at yesterday. So yesterday we had our range here, right? And look at how clean both the long and the shorts were super clean yesterday on the ES. Unfortunately, I didn't see that in time. But if you were looking for a opening range setup, you had the range develop, right? You broke out of the range. We don't really take this breakout because it's not the best setup. We always try to wait, or if we enter here, we're risking the low of the range and then waiting for a pullback to add, which is what I like to do. If it runs away from me, well, I have a little bit on, and then if it does the pullback, then I can go full size. So what we got was the pullback to the 50%. So consider this the 50% discount. It coincided with VWAP, volume weighted average price, and you can look at the volume as we pulled lower. Look at how this volume bar at around 10:08 was higher than all the prior volume bars here. What does that tell you? Where there's a crowd coming, right? And we got a high volume bar with a wick here, which tells us, well, let me zoom back in, which tells us that, okay, this is probably a reversal candle. We wait, and then we enter here as we're engulfing the prior red candle, and we can go and target the half point of that range. Why? Because if we enter here, then we're risking either the prior wick, or if you really want a large risk, you could risk the prior low here, but that wick is perfectly fine. And then we're targeting the halfway point here and then the high of the range. Well, we definitely reached the high of the range. And then since we were referencing the Nasdaq, because we're looking at all the different indices to kind of determine what we're doing, and then we have a clear trend. Once we broke that trend, then we take the short. How do we determine we're breaking the trend? Well, I always like to trace my trend lines using the line chart and maybe going to a higher time frame, 5 or 15, because the line chart makes it much clearer. If you trace it using the highs here, right? And we're looking at a group of candles. Whoa, sorry. So if we trace it using these two highs, we had our trend, right? And then we use this because the price is always channeling. So what happened there? If this is the channel, right? What happened there? We tried to break out. So some people were shorting here. They weren't able to capture the short. They were too early. It was bought back up. They tried to short here again. Did not work. They pulled up, and then this is where we found the reversal when we broke out of the trend, which coincided with this. So we're getting multiple confluences for our setup. Let me get back those candles, and then you captured the short. So today we're looking for similar things. Can we get these constructive price patterns to trade off of, right? So right now on the ES, what is going to be our opening range? Well, this is 930. This is the opening range so far. This is the halfway point of the opening range. Whoa, what's going on there? I think I had a little mishap error. Yeah, so right here we tested this halfway point. So we want to see, okay, what does the price want to do? Does the price want to get out of the box? Does the price want to oscillate inside the box? The price wants to say inside the box. Usually for me, there's no real setup. So we'll wait, we'll see. Indices trying to push higher. Let me know what you're looking at, guys. We looked at gold. We look at the Nasdaq. We look at the ES. We're being patient, waiting for setups that make sense. You're totally welcome to take any trades that make sense in your playbook. But so far for me, being patient, waiting for the price to show me what it wants to do, especially at those all-time highs where on the long side, you can't look left and have references, right? So we're using the price action of the range to kind of show us what we can aim for on the long side. Sorry. On the short side, yes, we do have references. So it might be somewhat easier to take short trades. But again, you need to keep in mind that, hey, we're at all-time highs. We're pushing higher. This has been one of the fastest rallies that the indices have had. So you don't want to be fighting the trend. If the trend is going up, we continue with the trend. I don't know if you guys ever read Reminiscences of a Stock Operator. From everybody knows it's based on Jesse Livermore's life, one of the greatest traders who ever lived. He said, he would love to, when stocks were high and reaching all-time highs, he would love to buy the top and then sell higher, right? And this is kind of what's been happening. You have people that have been calling shorts for a while now, that want to go short, that is saying that this is a bubble, that things are going to crash, whatever. Well, yeah, things are going to crash, but still we're pushing higher, right? So I'm going to keep on waiting for a clean setup. We have news coming out at 10, so we're being patient. We just need one or two good setups per day and we're fine, right? Futures are leveraged instruments, so we don't need much to make decent profits on the day. So we're waiting. And we'll see what we can get. Let me know in the chat, guys. Let me know what you're looking at. Remember to like, remember to subscribe. So interesting take here. The Dow Jones is selling off. So yesterday, And sometimes when you have the indices, each index doing something different, um or sorry, let's say we're looking at four of them, three are doing something and then one is doing something different. That could be a leading indicator for your trade, right? So if we have, this is the Russell, we have the Russell that push higher doing some kind of a pullback here. We have the ES pushing higher. We have the Nasdaq continuing to push higher. Oh man, we missed that. This was a great entry setup, by the way. Break, retest, and move higher. So we kind of missed that one. So right now, what we're looking at for our range, right, is, okay, we're now at the halfway point right here. So can we get some kind of a pullback to get into the trade? So we'll see if we can get that and hopefully find a trade. Just keep this next to me right now. All right, so we're seeing a little bit of profit taking here. That's totally fine. And then we have the speed of price. We have our trend right here, right? Which is somewhat elevated, but we'll see what we can get. Look at a 5-minute chart. So I'm using the 15-minute range here. So basically the first 15-minute candle. So it could be considered this. This is our actual range. This is our 15-minute range. This is the range. So we actually are, we tested the high of the range and we're pulling back. So now if we consider the Dow to be the leading indicator, well, we might be pushing lower. So we'll see what's going on. Hey, Justin, we got the boxes going, right? We took some nice setups yesterday. It's an easy framework to trade. So let's do some boxes and see what we can get. We had a nice setup yesterday. We got the long and the short. I got the long on stream and got the short off stream. So let's look at yesterday really quick. I'll give you a quick look. So yesterday, these were, sorry, we were talking about that a few minutes ago, where, we took the long, we entered here, added here. And then once we couldn't push higher, I exited partials here, took the stop. And then after the stream, I got short and caught this down move from around here, took some profits around the 50% here and took the rest down here. And then I got a third trade, which was that quick momentum short down there. And then that was my day yesterday. So pretty good. Let's look at the Nasdaq. So far, yeah, we have a little trend going on, and then we want to pay attention to the wicks. So I like to look at the meat of the move and look at the wicks. So let's see what we can get. And then the 50% would be around here. So let's just keep that in mind. It is entirely possible that the Nasdaq can push higher, right? As a matter of fact, whoa, yeah, that is the trade I might want to take. Let's just see. The thing is, I want to find an area where I can clearly risk off of. So it is entirely possible that we may push higher, right? So it's gonna be 10 o'clock. The only thing that's holding me back right now from taking a trade is that we're gonna have some data come out at 10 o'clock. So we'll see. And then that little move right there, let me just make sure that there is no news going on, because that has been very influential these days. But yeah, a good setup would be, right, we broke above here, we pulled back, and then we're going to target not quite the height of the box immediately. First, you want to look at the halfway point. Why? Because you want to think about, okay, not every trader entered here. You have you have a pullback entry here, pullback entry here. So you want to look at the halfway point around here as a first target, as a first area where things could fail, right? And sometimes that will give you an opportunity to enter later. So we'll push higher. We don't FOMO in, we wait. And a lot of times what you will get is a test of this area and then a retest of the upper end of the box. So maybe somewhere here if we're really bullish, and then we go test higher. And what that will be, that pattern will be, if you have the trend going, right, that would be a failed breakdown. So basically, if you were looking to short here, you would short and then it would reverse on you. So that is a possible pattern we can look for. We're just going to see what the data looks like when it comes out, right? So we want to wait and see what is the data, and there we could take a trade, possibly on the Nasdaq or on the ES or even the Russell, whatever makes more sense, whatever is a cleaner setup. Today, the Nasdaq is acting right, like I could say. You could see there's not a lot of wicks, which I like, right? There's not a lot of erratic price action. Things are looking pretty clean. And to me, when the Nasdaq looks like that, I call it, okay, there's a lot of humans trading here. It's not just bots, but hey, that's just me, and maybe it's a conspiracy. But today it looks pretty clean and looks pretty constructive. So we'll see what we can get. Now, I definitely want to wait for 10 o'clock to see what the news does and how we react to that. But so let's just go over what possible news could come out. The real thing I'm looking out for is the jobs data, right? So do we have predictions? Job openings, so 6.9 is the forecast. Previous was 6.88, and then consensus is 6.84. So we'll see how we come out. But specifically for the NQ, if the jolts is too high, well, that's going to be kind of negative for the NQ, right? Because that means tight labor, wage inflation, higher yields, etc. So we might see a sell-off in the Nasdaq. If the jolts jobs opening is falling, then that's going to be positive for the Nasdaq. So we want to see kind of what happens and take our trades from there. So we're about 6 minutes from the news coming out. And we'll see what we can get. We'll let the price action dictate what we do. Let me just pull up a little bit of some other screens there. We're going to take a quick look at market internals. So let me show you guys what I look at as well. So market internals are the VIX, right? How elevated the VIX? We're not super elevated. A 20 VIX is what you would consider to be an elevated VIX, in my opinion. So that's when, things are very, very volatile. So far, this is okay for trading. And then advanced decline, how many stocks are advancing? And we're looking at the stock market because the indices are made of stocks, right? So how many stocks on the New York Stock Exchange are advancing versus declining? So we had them advancing, then a pullback, then they're advancing again. So things are looking more bullish and bearish right now. We're above zero, so we're good. The tick chart is basically tick up volume versus down volume. And we were ticking down, now we're ticking up. So far, everything is looking quite positive. Fold ratio is volume, so up volume minus down volume. Again, we're ticking up. So everything is looking, again, still positive. Looking at NVIDIA, let me just put my VWAP here so I could see. Nvidia, we tried, you see the point of control here. They tried to sell it, but we're holding above VWAP, so that's constructive. Let's look at Apple. Apple had this big up move there. They're trying to sell it now, so let's see. All right. Tesla, Microsoft moving lower. Amazon pushing, okay. Kind of a mixed bag here. Meta pushing lower. Google doing a pullback, and Broadcom in this high volume node right here. Okay, so now let's switch back to the NQ. And you can see that with our volume profile, we've reached a liquidity area here, right? So can this hold? Can we push higher is what we want to find out. We're above the point of control for the session. So we're definitely so far more bullish than bearish. So let's see. And then let's look at the ES. ES is right above the point of control also, so looking bullish here. Even the YM is recovering. The Russell that did a clean pullback and is pushing higher. As actually the best setup right now is on the Russell, in my opinion. Let's look at the Russell. Let's just do our little box as usual on the Russell. So first 15 minutes right here. Let's put a 5-minute here. The Russell looking interesting. So the Russell is holding above this 50%. Okay, yeah. For now, the futures contracts you have to kind of roll with the contract, so you know. And the easiest way to find out when they're expiring is using TradingView. So if you go, for example, on the Nasdaq, you go on the daily. You can find out, okay, what's the next contract? What's the current one? And you click on these little arrows here. For example, the next contract, right now we're trading the NQM26. The next one is going to be the NQU for September. We do have to change them right now, but there is a continuous contract which I use to do my analysis. Sometimes it's called the FUT. So for example, we have NQFUT. It's the continuous contract. We are not yet able to trade this, to just pick this and trade it, but it will soon probably be available where you won't have to change contracts all the time, and you'll just pick the continuous one and trade that one. So great question there. Great question. But for now, what you do is you look for your for example, we're trading the micros, so MNQ, and then you go to futures and it will tell you what is the current contract, which is usually what you want to take, and what's going to be the next contract. And you want to be switching to the next contract about a week before expiry. And you're going to see the volume decline. So, you know, you switch to that, and just keep that in mind. It's easy to find on TradingView. You could check it on the CME as well, but so far you could use that on TradingView. You can see the price action here is pretty erratic. That means the data is coming out. Let's look at the okay, so we don't have the numbers here. Let me just look at it, another source. It hasn't populated here. So the shorts have, as they say, the shorts have entered the chat, right? So we're seeing, you see how the volume is increasing here. We just want to wait. We just want to wait to see, okay, is this really a short, or is this just profit taking, bots reacting to the news, and we possibly push higher? So we're patient. We don't have to be in a hurry. We'll wait and see what happens. Why are we not in a hurry? And this is why I really like to look at the opening range. we've had an opening range of 100 points, 106 points, which is great. You know, the asset moves about 300, 400 points a day, which means you moved 100 points, but you could still capture 100, 200, 300 points if you're lucky on the day. So there's no need to rush. There's no need to go crazy. We will find a clean setup and risk off of that, right? So we're good. We're waiting. Let's let the news get digest a little bit, and then we'll find a setup. I like that increased volume. I could see they're holding the highs here. So it looks like we want to go long. Let me just go and look at another source for the numbers. Just 1 second, guys. Because I saw they didn't populate right away, but they're supposed to be coming in. Oh yeah, they're coming in. Okay. Okay, Joe job opening 6.86 versus a consensus of 84. The forecast was 6.9, so it came out a little bit lower than expected, which means it's a cooling labor market, lower wage pressure. Yields might fall, which means we might see the Nasdaq pull higher. We'll see. We might just go target these highs. Let me just look at the Russell again because the setup was looking cleaner on the Russell. I might want to take a long on the Russell, honestly. You see how it was, we wicked lower and was bought back. How? I don't understand the question, Tubag. You say, how do I know about futures trade first? I don't get the question. Could you explain it again? What do you mean, how do I know about futures trade first? All right, we're just reading the price action here. We have a little bit of an accumulation moving sideways here. When was my first experience with futures? Is probably what you're asking. Okay, so a little bit of a backstory. I've been trading for six years, almost 7 years, and I started with stocks. Started with small caps and mid caps, and I kind of so at first I was trading my own. So I discovered trading on YouTube. Before this, I was running my own business. I was in advertising. I ran my own business for almost, I would say, maybe 15 years. And I discovered trading randomly on YouTube, and I saw what a guy was able to make in a day. And what he was able to make in a day used to take me more than a month to make in my own business. And I was interested. I was like, oh wow, I'm a natural risk taker. So I decided to investigate. I got a simulator account on TD Ameritrade. Looked at a lot of videos, traded it for about 2 weeks, and I made a bunch of money in the simulator. So I was like, oh man, this is easy. I'm just clicking buttons. I don't need to struggle trying to get clients, et cetera, et cetera. I could just trade. So I started with stocks. And of course, as usual, you find out really fast that it's not that easy. And I was trading my own brokerage account. I was not trading a prop account. So it was real money from the beginning. And I struggled a lot in the beginning. Then I switched to, so I tried a bunch of things in stocks. Then I switched to crypto because it was around, so I started in 2019 and then 2020 came by. Mid 2020, I got into both crypto and stocks, and I was investing and trading at the same time. And then after a lot of trial and error, I stopped trading small caps because I couldn't trade small caps. It didn't make sense to me. I switched to trading mid and large caps. And then I decided, all right, I think this is a setup for us guys, by the way. I'm gonna start scaling in. What? Oh man, this is my new funded account, and I think Risk hasn't approved it yet. Well, this sucks. Well, the entry would be here. Actually, you know what? Let's switch to, I think I have a simulator account there. Let's just switch to simulator. This way I could show you guys what is going on. This is not. All right. This is going to be a simulated one, guys. Because actually, let me just write real quick because the new funded account is not set up yet. All right, yeah. So then I traded Nvidia for a while, and that's how I started to find success, way back. And as I was trading Nvidia every day, I started to slowly find success. I was doing it with my own brokerage account and with Trade the Pool, which is a sister company to the Fivers. And then I was also trading the QQQs. So basically the equities version of the Nasdaq. So then I started hearing about prop firms, and I was like, wow, this is kind of a no-brainer. So I started there, tried, failed my first challenges, and gradually things got better, and just futures started clicking for me. Now, the thing I didn't like about stocks is that you had to do a lot of research, especially small caps. You had to check the filings. Sometimes you would want to go short, and you couldn't find things to short, again because I was using a real brokerage. So by the way, let's see, I entered this long here, but we're risking this level. So we're risking, I always have a protective stop, but we're risking the prior wick here, because if this is going to break out, then it's going to go immediately. If not, I'm basically buying the top. So we want to be aware. So I'm basically risking the prior low of this 5-minute candle. And then you can add, so you could put a buy stop here, targeting these prior highs. So we'll see. Again, we need to remember that this is a liquidity area. Based on the news, I think we could move up. We'll see. But if not, we'll stop out. Let me just leave there. We'll stop out right there, right below this previous low here. So let's see what we can get. So yeah, so that's how I started trading futures. Because I was trading Nvidia, I had found an asset that matched my personality. Um, for the small caps, you had to be way too fast, which I like to take my time to take decisions. I don't want it's a medium. I don't want it to be too slow nor too fast. And that's how I started trading futures with prop firms. And I took huge losses in my brokerage accounts. I mean, multiple big figures. And prop firms really allowed me to stay alive, stay trading, and not have to invest a lot of my own money. And I haven't looked back since. I still trade both my brokerage account and prop accounts. And then yeah, so that's how I got into futures. Just starting with stocks, moving into crypto, and then gradually, because of the assets I was trading, discovered futures, and I've never looked back since, you know? All right, so we are seeing some rejection here. So if this trade doesn't work out, we'll stop out here and then we'll look for another setup. Basically, what I was looking for is a possible break and a test of these prior highs. If that doesn't happen because of the rounding top we're seeing here, then we'll stop out and move up. So basically, the stop is right there. I like to put my stops below because we'll get some weird wicking action on the Nasdaq, but I'm risking 50 points. So this is the stop. All right, we have family quick saying hi for day trading futures. Yes, how many points should we use to set a stop loss? In Forex, you use 15 pips. Okay, so it's gonna be a little bit different in futures, and it's gonna be different based on the asset you're trading, right? You want to know what the average daily range is. So for the Nasdaq, it varies these days between 300 and 400 points. And if you look at a pullback, so basically if we look at a pullback visually here, this pullback is about 45 points. So that's how I determined that, okay, if I'm risking, I need to risk about 50 points. We're trading micros, which is $2 a point, so I'm risking basically $100 per contract. Now, it's going to determine also on your account size, what is your risk. There's a lot that goes into it, but I'll explain a little bit. But now if you switch, for example, to the ES doesn't move as much as the Nasdaq. So the ES moves on average maybe 50 points. So you're not going to be risking 50 points on the ES, and also each point is on the micros worth $5. So on the ES, for example, when I'm risking, I'll risk maybe 10 points, right? And actually, just like yesterday, the setup was much cleaner on the ES than the Nasdaq. So we already reached these highs. We're pulling back on the ES, which is kind of signaling to me that it's probably time to look for shorts. So we're going to stop out of this right now. We're going to wait for a pullback, and we'll probably consider entering a short if we follow through. So we're 0 for 1 right now. Let's see what we can get. But anyways, yeah, you have to determine your stop based on the asset you're trading and how much it moves intraday, right? So for the Nasdaq, and also depending on how you trade, I'm trying to hold trades for half an hour, an hour. So you're using the I'm basically looking at the higher time frames. But if you're trading and you're trying to get a quick scalp for 40 points, well, then maybe it makes sense to risk 10 points. So it's going to depend on your style of trading. But the way I do it is, okay, for example, I have a 25K account. There's $750 worth of risk there. On average, I know my win rate is about 50, at best 50, 60%. It's a 50 to 60% win rate. And then on average, the maximum I'll lose is 5 or 6 trades in a row. So I know, okay, if I'm risking $100 per trade on a bad day, if I get bad streak of five losses back to back, I could still survive and hold that account, right? Now, if you have a much higher win rate, and maybe better risk to reward, maybe your percentage might be different, right? And then if it's a bigger account, you can vary it, but that's how I determine it for me. Somebody said, "Do I look like the game?" Well, that's the first time I hear that, but okay. He has okay music. That's a first for me. I've never heard that before. But yeah, he's a cool artist. I prefer this game. I prefer the game of trading. All right, so we took our first loss. We're looking for what the price wants to do. So right now, what I want to find out is, okay, is this a real short, or was it just a liquidity grab, and then we're going to continue to oscillate higher, right? So we're still above that 50% line, so we could definitely enter long again. It's just that it's not confirmed yet. So what we want to look for is, okay, can we hold this? Is this a pullback? We're still above VWAP, we're still long, and can we just get a push higher, a pullback, and go retest the highs? Then that would maintain our long thesis. Now, again, remember, there's just been news, so the news is kind of affecting how the price is moving. Now, if we're not going to push higher, then what I want to see is, okay, we want to push lower, go test the bottom of the range, move up, and then go push lower. Uh, yeah. So that's what I want to see. That's what I'm waiting for, and we'll see if we can get that. Oil spiked. Let's take a look at oil. Is there news? CL. Okay, so oil pushing higher. All right. You guys know the assets are inversely correlated. So as we push higher on oil, then the indices will go lower. So that's a good indicator for us that we might move lower. Let me just take a look at gold. All right. Kind of holding still. Let me look at the Russell. Man, I knew I should have taken that trade on the Russell. All right. Kind of want to trade the NQ though. Okay, ES is pushing lower. They bought it again here. So for people who like, we have a small fair value gap here. Oh man, we're pushing lower. Okay. Just, this is where we stay calm. We've seen clear rejection here, right? We're back inside the box. So basically what you guys need to know is, if we're aiming for shorts, we have room. There's room for us to go all the way down to here. So it doesn't, you don't have to rush. You don't have to panic. You can stay calm and find your entry. So we're waiting, but things are definitely looking more bearish than bullish so far. Let's take a quick zoom out. All right, we're gonna wait here. Just looking at some other info. All right, I'm kind of leaning short right now. So let's see what we can get. So we're gonna wait to see what the next 5-minute candle does. I'm a little quiet, guys, because I'm thinking. It's hard to think and talk at the same time. But right now, it's looking more bearish than bullish. We're going to see what we can get. We're oscillating below. So I want you guys to look at this right now. Let's go on the NQ. Let's put up the volume profile for you guys. Oh, come on. 5-minute chart. Right now, we captured liquidity. We pushed lower, right? So, but we're still above VWAP. So we want to see, okay, can we get a retest and a push lower, or is this just a pullback? So I'm looking at it. I'm looking at the speed of the tape, and it's kind of looking like another pullback. Let's just be patient. Let's see what we get. Tuba saying good sharing. But let me know, how did you guys get into futures? Do you trade futures? Do you trade CFDs? What do you guys trade? So there's a little trend developing here. We could see, you know, price trying to push lower. Holding lower, holding lower, holding lower. So what I want to see is, how do we react when we go and retest this area here? Are we able to break through above this, or can we break below? One could definitely try a long here, because actually, you know what? Let's try a long, because we're definitely trying to push higher. The only problem, speaking of risk reward, this is not a great risk reward trade because we have the resistance here. But if we're able to break through decisively, then that would be good. I want to be a little bit more patient here. Let's just be patient. Let's see if this is rejection. Let's see what happens once we cross this barrier. Because if we're able to break through and pull back, then it's the long. If we reject this area again, then that tells us that, okay, the short might be on. Let's look at, and you remember the Dow. The Dow was pointing downwards this morning, which told me, ES is looking constructive. We're reacting to this prior pocket here. So we're not getting the cleanest setups today because of the news, right? The market is trying to decide how to react to this news. And usually it's better to wait an hour after to enter your trades. But I really like to show you a trade live and catch it in front of you. Funny enough, though, a lot of my trades happen off stream. The best trades often happen off stream and sometimes in the afternoon. So we'll see. Tuba saying this is your first try on future, so you're learning. Okay, so you usually trade the CFDs. You just be aware of the risk on futures. And if you're using Black Arrow, the easiest way for you to set it up is you go here, you press the arrow, you go, and then you set your bracket. So for example, I have something called 1-to-1. Man, I think this is the breakout. Let's try the breakout. I'm too late. All right, too late. We're gonna wait for a pullback. So yeah, you set it for, so for example, if you're risking $100 per trade, you put 1-to-1, and then you can easily determine where to take your trades. So let me put 1-to-1. So for example, here, if I want to risk this low, I'm pressing shift and I'm hovering above this. I know that my entry should have been here. That's why I said, oh man, I'm too late, right? And this would have been a 1-to-1 trade. I'm risking 50 points or $100 and whatever. And then you can put it here and click, and it will tell you how much you're risking. And then you could see in pips or in points. I usually like to watch the points, or in ticks. Oh, I showed you a week ago. Okay. Sorry about that. I forgot. Okay. All right. So now, interesting area again. Remember, it's constructive. We're seeing we're reaching that 50% here, right? So I'm still not 100% convinced that the longs are on, but this could have been a nice trade if your risk was tight and you entered here, which I thought about for a sec. You're getting about 71, almost 100 points here, and you would have risked maybe 30, even if you were risking 50 points. So that would have been a good risk reward trade. You had your little double bottom here, right? And you could have gotten that trade. I have to say I've taken a loss, and that I'm human. It's affecting me a little bit psychologically here. So it's making me hesitate. So I'm being patient for the trades. I think this was the pullback and we're getting continuation, but I think I'm late. So when you're late, you just wait. Oh, that might be a new quote I just came up with. When you're late, you just wait. So no need to get FOMO here, guys. No need to go crazy. We can wait. I want to look at gold. Let's see. Does the ES offer opportunity? The ES is back at those highs. So by the way, I made an indicator to trade this opening range with targets and everything. I think I'm going to probably, because it makes it very easy for you. It tells you how much is the range, where's the halfway point, where's the London low, the Asia low, where should your targets be. I think I should probably share that with the community on Discord. So you guys, if you like the range, you could use it. Let's look at gold really quick. All right, gold gave us the pullback. Is this the day I take a gold trade on stream? Because we had the pullback and we're having that bullish scenario. You know what? I think I might have to take a gold trade. Let's look at GC. So we're going to take micro gold. We could try to capture that breakout. Let's try to capture the breakout. Here we go. So where's King 10 points? And we'll try to capture, I'd say 15. Let's just confirm the higher level. So we definitely are buying the top here, and we're trying to buy a breakout, right? And then let's look at a higher time frame. So possible target, actually we could even try to capture 20 points here. So we have this prior pocket of resistance. We definitely have this level to worry about, right? Here. We're trying to break these highs. We're risking the low of this the open of the candle. Because if it's a real breakout, then it's going to continue. And then we're trying to capture about 20 points. So 2-to-1 trade. Let's see what we can get. So we got this trade going on gold. Because so far, our bullish scenario is somewhat playing out. Remember, I said we had to kind of, let's look back at what we said this morning. Let's get these lines out of the way. Get this out of the way. Let me put the bullish scenarios again. So I said that we needed to kind of break, pull back, and continue to push higher. Well, that's what we got. It wasn't the cleanest break. We pulled back, and now we're pushing higher, right? Now, it is entirely possible that this is a liquidity area, right? But since we are above the point of control for this session, I think we might possibly go oscillate higher and go test higher liquidity areas. Now, the thing about gold is you have to be super patient, right? And it can move sideways a lot before it gives you what it wants to give you. That's why I prefer indices, because the moves will be less, there will be less consolidation before the actual move. So we'll see. And then, it's probably shorts entering here. If that trade doesn't work, we still have our Nasdaq trade that I'm waiting for. Looks like we missed that one. All right, so we're trying to reject here. We're right below that 50% area. So let's see what we get. All right, guys, let me know. Did you catch any trades? So the Nasdaq doing a similar thing to what it did yesterday, where it was not able to capture that high, and then we oscillated lower. So if I'm going to enter short, I'm probably going to enter around 28,105. So 28,105, which would be here. But that would be, if we break those this level here. So we'll see. Definitely trying to continue to push higher. This might just be the pullback. All right, I think we have another breakout incoming, but it could be a fake out. All right, let's look. I am pulling back. ES is pulling back. Let me take a look at the ES. ES is pulling back. The trade might just be on the ES. I'm just looking at different things here, looking at market internals. I think I might want to scale in here. Can we get a deeper one? Highs are holding pretty well. Do we want to squeeze shorts is the question. So we're kind of oscillating Oh, sorry, canceled that by mistake. All right, I have Tubagu. Did you find a trade? What are you looking at? Justin, let me know. We had Family, KWK, Nerdtendo. Let me know what you guys are looking at. What you're trading. This is looking like a breakout. And then if it doesn't break out, then it's capturing liquidity and we'll reverse short. All right, we're under that 50%. If we go under this area, we're reversing the short. I talked about that yesterday, how I like to enter the contrarian idea first to confirm my thesis. We're getting a wick on volume, so all right, and invert. There we go. Now we have a longer term trend developing. So this is similar to that setup that we had yesterday. Let me just show you. And we're targeting these the lower end of the range. Yesterday, where is that? Just put this bigger. 5-minute chart. Yesterday, we were unable to hold higher than the 50% area of the range, and then we sold off. So I'm looking for a similar setup. So if we're going to break out, it was going to happen on that candle, hopefully. And if not, then we're moving short. All right, so far the short is working. Let's see what we get. Now, the thing to be aware of is this might just be a pullback because we have, a primary trend going on here. So if we're not able to break this level here, that 28.85, if we're not able to break through decisively, then the short is not on. Now, if we are able to break and we get a little bit of a pullback here, I'll add to this position. So we'll see what we get. And then I'm just risking this prior high, so not even risking the whole 50 points, especially because it's a trade I would want to add to. All right. Currently no entries. Interested in Nasdaq, short on Nasdaq. Harris Jakar. All right, nice. Let's see if we get that short. The only thing you need to be aware of is, this structure. Move up, pull back, move up, pull back. It could be a continuation upside. So we'll see. We got a nice little rejection here. We intended to push higher. It was not possible. What we would prefer to see is once we get to here, we get a break, a retest. We would add on the retest and then a push lower, right? If we don't get that, then it will be a continuation. If we don't get the break and we don't get a decisive break, then it might be a continuation higher. Now, another thing to be aware of is what we might get is buyers to step in here, because you need to know we're right above that resistance here. Buyers might step in. We might go and retest this area and push lower. So three scenarios to keep in mind. We're going to determine what to do based on what the candles tell us. And if it doesn't work out, well, our risk is under control and we will live to trade another day. That's all we need. That's all we want. Live to trade another day. This is still a bullish setup, by the way. I just want to see if we're not able to get the break of this trend here, and we're not able to get a decisive break. So the lower end of the trend is here. The upper end of the trend is about here. So right now we're in no man's land. This whole area is no man's land. Anything can happen inside here, right? So you want to let the price show you what it wants to do inside this area. Does it want to revert higher or does it want to push lower? On the opening range, this is definitely, this could, if we were totally bullish, this could have been the pullback to push higher. But I want to try the short right now because of that rejection that we got here and the hesitation we got here. We'll see what we get. All right, let's look at the 5 minute. Yeah, 5 minute is looking more like a pullback than a short entry. All right, I'm going to exit the trade because I don't need it to put me in the red before working. I just prefer to look for a better entry. We'll wait, give it maybe a candle more or two. Buyers are stepping in. They're not stepping in on a lot of volume, though, which is interesting. Let's find out if this wick can hold or not. But it's looking bullish. And you have to remember the data that came out so far is more bullish than bearish. While this is cooking, let's look at the ES. So ES in the middle of the range. The Dow kind of trying to hold. Russell being very constructive, very, very positive. We have a clear trend going on here. Was this a break of trend? So let's see. Let's hold. All right. We got the retest. We're selling off. I kind of want us to get out of this area for me to add. All right, very good. So buyers stepped in. They tried to push it up. They were not able to. So we're selling, which is great. And we probably need to get out of our gold trade. So gold trade is still negative. We didn't push higher fast. So I'm going to close this trade and then just focus on the NQ. So just 1 point loss here. Nothing. That's $10. Nothing major. Let's go back to the Nasdaq. All right, we're pushing lower. This is nice. So what we want to see, if we're still in no man's land. It's not confirmed yet. We're in profit about 20, 25 points, which is great. But What I want to see is a break, a retest for me to add, and then I want us to go and test the lower levels. Now, that is for my trade because I want a longer term hold. But just be aware that this might just be a pullback. Yep, buyers are stepping in. Let's see. Might also be shorts taking profit, but keep in mind we're still above this. Let me just put a line here. We're still above this this zone of support. So that's why I want us to break this and oscillate lower for the short to be confirmed. Short is not confirmed. Long is not confirmed. So we're just waiting patiently. And I definitely want Harris Jakar to win. So we want this short to continue. Let's see if we can get it. That's where we need patience. We need discipline. We need to wait. They're definitely, so on a higher time frame, if you look at the 5-minute time frame, they're definitely trying to hold. Just take a quick look at oil. Oil trying to push up, which is good for us. Nvidia. I'm just looking at the overall stock market right now and looking at what the other indices and assets are doing. See where we stand. All right, we're trying to get that break. Tape is accelerating. Can we get a clean break is the question. So the buyers are really fighting. And at this point, you want your trade to kind of work immediately. And what I mean by immediately, once this 5-minute candle closes, if it's not a red candle, if it's not closing lower, then that means that, at least for now, the short is not the trade. So let's wait. Let's give it a little bit of time. There's about a minute left on this 5-minute candle. But so far, buyers are aggressive. And at this point, I totally understand if you didn't want to risk the whole move and you kind of, manage your risk and put it tight, because you don't need to take a 30-point loss. You can always look for a better re-entry. I'll leave my stop here for about 25 points. But I totally understand if you want to manage your risk, take a small loss, reevaluate, re-enter a better trade. But yeah, the setup is looking similar to yesterday. The only thing is that yesterday we got a more decisive push lower. So far right now, this might be, a constructive move to the upside. It's not impossible. This is our no man's land. This is our decision area, this whole area right there. Until we're able to get out of there, we are not confirmed. And we can look at it in multiple ways. We can look at it on a horizontal level, right? So for example, we are holding above this prior resistance. So it's still a support area, right? And then trend-wise, this is a longer-term trend. So are we just capturing liquidity to reverse back higher? We don't know yet. Let's see. Harris Krishna saying you exited with a little green. All right, very good. I'm still holding because I really, if it's gonna work, it's gonna be a very nice trade because I like trend line breakdowns. So if we get the break, I'll definitely add to the trade and then move my stop lower. All right, this is looking good. We're looking like we might break. And then again, also, it's going to be 11 o'clock. So we need to keep that in mind. Let's look at the 30-minute. Okay, we got a double rejection here. All right, we're starting to look like we could, whoa, sorry. Almost got the wrong. All right, we're going to start adding on the break. So now we got multiple targets. If it does work, our first target is the 50% here. Our second target is here. And then if we are able to add another contract, we can go and target the lows. But this might just be a pullback to VWAP. So let's see what we get. So I only want to risk 50 points. So we're going to put our stops tighter. So I'm risking 30 on this and about 20 on this one. And then at 11 o'clock, we're going to get some moves. So we want to see what happens at 11 o'clock. We're almost out of the woods. We're trying to get out of this area. The shorts are trying to push the price lower. But again, we are at the support level here, right here. Let me put a box for you guys. We are in this zone where buyers might be, stepping in and buying. And we can look at a let me go back to the NQ. You see, we're right above that point of control here, right? So we captured liquidity. We thought we were going lower, but we're still holding around what is basically the fair, what the market considers the fair value so far, right? So we're waiting. If this is the fair value, then price is going to be moving upwards. If it's not, then we're looking for a discount. What are the possible targets for the discount? Here and here. But if this is fair value, then this is going to continue to move upwards. Let's take a quick look at the ES. Yep, ES is looking constructive. ES looking like a long. So we might want to hedge our position. I don't want to be taking too many trades today. So yeah, we're still, you see that circle that I put there? We're technically still in that area. We haven't really broken out. So yeah, might be, again, we're 6 minutes from, we're 6 minutes from 11 o'clock, and 11 o'clock is going to be the decisive candle that shows us what we want to do. So I'll risk the exact close. Yes, I'll risk the exact close here and see if we can get the move down. But so far, the buyers have been aggressive and holding above. So our short might not work, but the 11 o'clock might change. Yep. This is support. Yep. 11 o'clock is changing the situation, changing the scenario. And we're probably going to get stopped out now. We got about 5 minutes to go before that 11 o'clock candle. But you see the decisive move was around here. Once we got that pullback and push, we formed a higher low, which was like, okay, this is not looking bearish. This is actually more longs entering and wanting to push this higher. Now, since I don't want to take too many trades in a day, I've already taken 3 trades. This is going to be my last trade. But so far, unless we get a change in price action by 11, so far the bulls are winning the fight. Let's see. What would be nice and what would be a very nice long setup is if we could get a retest of VWAP and then trend higher the whole day. That would be nicer, in my opinion, for the longs. But if the longs are very eager based on the news to push price higher, then we'll break these highs and continue and go test this level right here. So honestly, the best entry was here. I hesitated a bit and we weren't able to catch that, but it was a clean one. We broke out, retested the 50% of the range, and then went and retested the other 50% of the range. So that to me was the best setup, but unfortunately I missed that one. All right, let me see the tick. All right, so we're ticking green. More stocks are advancing. VIX is not too elevated. So I would say it's 70-30 right now. 70-30 for the green side and 70 for the green side, 30 for the red side. And then if we push lower and if we're able to get back to this blue box, then it switches to about 60-40. And then if we push lower to here, since we have this level, it's 50-50. And, we'll see. So just about 2 minutes to go for 11 o'clock. Let's see what we get. Okay, so they retested the high, shorted again. This is good for us. We're still holding. So the way the price is moving here, I would really like to, get a drop and then reconsider the longs here. Maybe we won't get the second target, but the first one would be nice because based on VWAP, that would be a nice entry. And then let me look at the volume profile. Yeah, 28.27 would be a great price. And then 27.970 would be the second target. So right there, 970. But bulls are buying. So it's still 70-30, 70% green. 70% chance, in my opinion, that the bulls win. And there. Sneaky Sausage, I like your name. Do I set VWAP from market open or not day? I can set a VWAP from market open, but no, I have it from, it's anchored to the day. But we can set one, and let me set that one for you. Let's just go. And set this at 930. So I like to use the open, high, low, close divided by 4. Apply, okay. And then 930 was here. So right now we're above, based on the open, we're above VWAP. So yeah, definitely bullish there. I like to use this because it's like one standard deviation below. So if we're going to get a move lower, I'll get a bigger range. What news do we have at 11? We don't have news at 11. We had news at 10. The JOLTS job opening that came out, a little bit lower than expected, which is bullish for the market. which is why we had a bullish bias prior, but we thought we would get a deeper pullback first. But at 11, yeah, total household debt that's coming out. It's not really news. It's just the London close that usually affects the market. So right now it's 11 o'clock. It's the end of the stream, but I'll stay on for about a minute to see what we get. And no problem, Tubagu. Always a pleasure. Game show. You guys are coming in late, man. It's 11 o'clock. It's the end of the stream. I'm gonna have to find a way to make this stream longer. But good morning, game show. I hope you're having a good day. I hope you picked up your daughter and she had a great day at school yesterday. Stanis, is that Stanislas? If it's you, how you doing? I'm doing good. No, actually, I one loss so far. We're trying to see if we could get a win there, but it's looking more bullish and bearish. The bulls are winning so far. We didn't get the pullback that we wanted, so it's probably going to be a red day on this account for me. But it's fine because my funded account is giving me an error. I have to talk to the risk department. This is really where, patience can pay off. So far, we're still moving sideways, and that's why I said that whole area, that circle, and we're still inside. I could make it an oval. We're still inside of that indecision area here. All right, so as long as we're kind of in this area between, I would say 28.88 and just 28, maybe 112. If we get above that, then yeah, the bulls are confirmed. And then if we get below that, below that VWAP area, then the short is confirmed. But as long as we stay inside this range, it could go either way. You said, yeah, one small loss, but good overall. Nice. Yeah, I mean, I'm good so far. I had a pretty huge day yesterday, so any loss today would just be giving back a little bit of profit from yesterday. Yesterday I was able to capture almost 200, 250 points on the Nasdaq over 3 trades, so we're good. All right, the bulls are entering. And well, I guess we're not going to get that trade on stream, guys. Because it is 11 o'clock. It's time for me to wrap this up. I will see you tomorrow, same time, 9 a.m. Eastern. You have yourself a great rest of your day. Trade smart, trade safe. And if you don't see it clearly, then don't take the trade. All right, guys. I'll see you tomorrow. Take care.